President's media unit has issued a communique stating that following a meeting the President had with local entrepreneurs, he had assured them that the underperforming enterprises and underutilized assets bill is a one-off bill which will affect only the 37 entities named in the bill. The communique further states that the government does not have any intention of taking over other private entities using this bill. Concerned about the manner in which the bill is being presented as an urgent bill, the local entrepreneurs had urged the president to present it in a way that does not affect investor confidence. Meanwhile, also issuing a media release, the National Chamber of Commerce states that the meeting with the head of state was attended by chamber representatives from the Federation of Chambers of Commerce and Industry of Sri Lanka, National Chambers of Commerce Sri Lanka, the National Chamber of Exporters, Chamber of Young Lankan Entrepreneurs, Joint Apparel Association Forum, Free Trade Zone Manufacturers Association, and the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce. According to the media release, senior cabinet ministers and senior government officials associated with the subject of economic development had been present at the meeting. According to the statement issued by the chamber, it had been given the following assurances. 1. That this is a one-off bill. The intention of this one-off bill is purely to revive the 37 underperforming enterprises and underutilized assets listed in Schedule 1 and 2. The government proposed to revive these enterprises or assets through the private sector. The present holders of these enterprises or assets will be given the opportunity to submit proposals to the government to revive their respective enterprises or assets. It further states that the business chambers will continue to engage with the government to ensure that the assurances are met.
The government has several underperforming and also underutilized and unprofitable assets. As we know, Mihin Lanka to CEB to so many other major institutions are running at a loss and they are also mismanaged. And I'm sure if the government is serious, all these enterprises must be handed over to the private sector to develop. Chambers have failed to take a strong stand against the government interferences on the private enterprises. This can happen in a country only when the business leaders and the chamber leaders are dependent on governments, or they don't have a stand on major investment issues of the country. Why I say this? Because if the private sector can stop short of pressurizing the government not to go ahead with the bill, then that shows that the private sector leaders are not doing their duty to protect the private sector itself. And if they want to promote the environment where there can be a competitive investment in the country, or to ensure that there will be free investments in the country, then the business leaders and the federation leaders must be in one voice saying that these laws that are proposed must be withdrawn.
President and the government, as well as all other stakeholders, should be concerned about the perceptions that this bill creates. I think the best response to the perceptions comes from the World Bank Vice President, who in an interview I saw in the newspapers today says that this will be perceived by the international community as well as local investors as a serious doubt, that an obstacle that will come in the way of investment. Amend the two definitions from underutilized and underperforming to non-performing and unutilized. If the asset is fully unutilized and if the enterprise is fully non-performing and not going concerns and they are non-performing, then only should they be taken in. If those two amendments are put in, I think the perceptions of this bill can be managed in the eyes of future investors. Third point is also brought in addition to the two I mentioned as amendments to the bill, to include in the preamble that this act is specific to the 37 entities only
Some say that there are loss-making, bankrupt businesses on state lands and therefore they have to be taken over. We have no problem with that. The Sevenagala Sugar Corporation is currently under Dayagamage. Earlier, it used to make an annual loss of 150 million. Dayagamage spent 500 million to buy it and then spent a further 2 billion to develop it. Now it produces not only sugar, but there are also 2 garment factories and a fruit juice factory. Now, it is a profitable business. The same goes with Pelavatta. Last year, they incurred a loss of 800 million. Hari Jayawardena took over and in the first 3 months turned a profit of 700 million. These businesses need to be protected. So I met the president on Friday and asked him to remove these 3 businesses. But an agreement has not been reached.
See, there is this unfair criticism leveled against us saying, look, we are being unpatriotic by criticizing this intended piece of legislation. That is not fair. I have been speaking out, particularly over this last 1 week, as a responsible member of the opposition, by voicing our concern that if this proposed bill becomes law, there will be consequences, negative consequences towards the development of our country. Whether you are in the opposition, whether you are in the government, the common objective is the development of our country. This country belongs to all of us.
එක මාධ්‍යවේදී දවසට ලියන්නේ අඟල් දෙක කොලම් දෙකක් විතරයි. ඒ නිසා ඔහුගේ පෑන සහ ඔහුගේ අත හරි.
A journalist writes a 2-inch column every day, so his pen and hand are not being utilized 24 hours a day. So the government can claim this is an underutilized asset and take it over. There is only one person who has authorized this, who will decide whether an asset is underutilized or utilized effectively. A journalist too can be considered an asset. This is completely haphazard. This bill must not be passed in Parliament. They have stated recently that they will only take over 37. But statements do not matter. What matters is the law that they are trying to pass. The president has told businessmen that they will take over only 37. This law has opened doors to travel in any direction. This door cannot be opened if we are to protect democracy, freedom and people's rights in the country.
විවෘත නොකළ යුතුයි මේ රටේ ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදී නිදහස මේ රටේ මිනිසුන්ගේ මිනිස් අයිතිවාසිකම් මගේන කවර පුරවැසියෙක්වත්